Today I want to break down one of those concepts that gets tossed around a lot in lending. It's the concept of positive selection and adverse selection, but I want to do it in a way that actually sticks. If you're a marketer, a product person, or someone who just needs to explain this to a cross-functional team, I think you need a better mental model than quote unquote it's a credit thing. So here's the analogy I use: recruiting. Hiring people is the cleanest way I know to make sense of selection bias in lending. So let's get into this. So first, I want to talk about channel selection, specifically inbound versus outbound, and why I think that shapes either the talent you acquire or the types of customers you get through your loans. Let's think about hiring. If you've ever run a search for a new team member, you know the drill. You post a job online and you wait for applicants, that's inbound, or you can have a recruiter go out and tap people who aren't even looking. That would be outbound. And recruiters know something most hiring managers forget. So when you post a job, you get a flood of resumes from people who are actively on the market. Some of them are unemployed, maybe unhappy, maybe just even desperate for a change. Some are great, many aren't, and the mix is skewed against you. So the pool of applicants here, when they're coming in inbound, tend to be less qualified than average if you were to just pull people at random. But when you go outbound, you headhunt people who are happily employed or not looking, get a very different pool. So if you compared 1,000 inbound applicants with 1,000 outbound targets, you'd see the difference in quality, experience, and fit. And yes, outbound is more work, but the yield is also better. So now let's swap candidate for direct mail is a lot like outbound. You'll build a list, you target people who aren't on the market for loans, and then you nudge them. Website traffic is a lot like inbound. People who are searching for credit, maybe because they need the money now. And here's the thing. The people that need the money most, who are actively searching, are on average riskier than the people you found through outbound, something like a direct mail list. It's the same as recruiting. The best talent isn't usually searching the job boards. That's positive selection, outbound, and adverse selection, inbound, in action. Let's take it to a different place. Let's talk about pricing now. And let's consider why cheap loans and high salaries pull in the very best quality. So let's go back to the hiring analogy here. Let's say you're looking for a director of affiliate marketing. Let's say it's a top tier candidate for that role. And let's get even more specific. It's lending now. I think there's a dozen or 24 people in the country that might fit that bill. So you post two identical jobs, one at 100K and another at 200K. The one that'll get the best candidates, it's not even close. That $100,000 posting is likely to get desperate candidates or people who don't even know their own market value. The best, of course, they won't bother. They'll see that compensation, move on, or potentially worse, wonder if you even know what you're looking for. And it kind of works the same way in lending. If you offer a personal loan at, say, 19% and the competitors are at 9%, the best credit risks are going to flock to the cheaper offer. What's interesting about this is that even small differences in price are going to matter. Let's say 12% versus 14%. That can really shift your applicant mix and your loss performance over time. And having been 20 years in the industry, I can tell you, because I've seen the data from a lot of different places, the lower the rate on a personal loan, the lower the losses are going to be. And your job as an issuer is to find that sweet spot where you're maximizing the yield. But if you're looking to get lowest possible risk and most possible applicants, lowest rate's usually going to be the winner. So best borrowers, like the best candidates, have options and they're going to use them. Now let's talk about funnel friction and how high friction processes can drive out the very best quality. And I think this is my favorite part just because there's some nuances here. So let's imagine two companies hiring for the same role. Company A has a 6 to 8 week process. They do something like 20 interviews, and then they give homework, they ask for referrals, and make candidates jump through endless hoops. Company B has a 2-week process. They schedule a couple calls with the hiring manager. They have you come in for a half-day in-person set of meetings, and then they make a decision at the end. So there's no question Company A is going to get more data in each candidate. But the catch here is the best people, the ones with options, aren't going to jump through all those hoops. They're going to bail halfway, maybe take another offer, or simply just ghost you because they know they have better options and that they don't have to put up with it. So the people that stick through with this are going to be the ones with fewer options. They might be less qualified, they might be desperate, maybe they just have more time than the rest of these candidates. It's the same thing in lending when you add steps like income verification, document uploads, bank logins, whatever it might be to your funnel. The best credit risks, the ones who could get a loan anywhere, bounce at the first sign of friction. So then who sticks around? It's the ones who need the money the most. So yes, please collect all the information you need for your underwriting decision. But if your process is more frictiony than your competitors, you're filtering for risk, not against it. Let's take a quick break in the action here, because I'd like to introduce you to our newest sponsor, Fintel Connect. They're an affiliate marketing platform that can help connect you to publishers, influencers, and manage your compliance. You may have heard of platforms like CJ, Rakuten, and Impact, but none of those platforms serve financial services companies exclusively. That's where Fintel Connect shines. Folks that have used their platform tend to talk about their compliance platform and their ability to connect with social media and influencer publishers that you may not find elsewhere. Additionally, because they're FI only, they have a deep empathy for the challenges that lenders and banks have when they run their affiliate marketing programs. I'd love for you to check them out. You can find them at fintelconnect.com, FINTEL connect.com, where you can connect directly with their founder and CRO. Okay, before we recap, I want to hit on a couple personal stories here. One on price signals and kind of a situation I bumped into. This was several years ago. I was on the market for a new role, like a head of partnerships type role or a head of marketing. I was dealing with a young CEO of what at the time was a unicorn company, a $1 billion valuation. And someone on his team was former Credit Karma and someone that knew of me. I don't think I worked very closely with this person, but that individual was in HR and I believed was well calibrated on how much people at various levels at Credit Karma were paid. So I came into that process thinking that if they ended up making an offer, it would be a competitive one. When it came down to making the offer, they offered me a compensation package that was almost exactly 50% of what I was making at Karma. So 50%, so half. And the considered potentially negotiating, but as I thought about it, I was like, look, I've never ever in my career negotiated a doubling of a salary. I've never seen that happen even once. Neither as a hiring manager nor as a candidate. So when they made that offer, like I just simply walked away. There was no further conversation. There was nothing else to do. I told them we were too far apart and we moved on. The other one here, this one is from around that same time period, actually. I was looking for a role. This was like during the COVID era. So the market was quite good. There were a lot of companies looking and hiring. This was kind of when the stock market was overheating. Companies were raising, startups rather, were raising a lot of money. So there was no shortage of job offers. It was very much a candidate's market. And one company sent me a bunch of data and they asked me to evaluate the data set and effectively do basically a homework assignment. And mind you, this was before even talking to a hiring manager. So I had like a 10 or 15 minute conversation with a recruiter. They sent me this big data set and I don't know, I don't even remember how many questions, but it was substantial. Something like 10 questions about the data set. And then what really got me was the data set was so large that when I put it into Google Sheets or Excel, it broke the row maximum for both of those. And mind you, this was not for a technical role. This was for a marketing role. But apparently this company, and this is a well-known company, by the way, a big brand in fintech, there was no way I was going to spend 10 to 20 hours on this homework assignment. Just absolutely no chance. There was just too many other things in my pipeline. So I just very kindly told the recruiter, hey, based on this assignment, I don't think this role's for me. Thank you very much. And I moved on. I didn't think twice about it. To recap, Outbound, like direct mail, brings in stronger, lower risk borrowers, just like recruiters find better talent by going after passive. Second, price matters a lot. If you're not competitive in your market, the best are going to pass right by. And third, funnel friction is a silent killer. If you add too much of it, you're going to be left with the riskiest applicants. So recruiting and lending are a lot more alike than you think. Selection bias is real. It's shaped by channel, how folks hear about you, whether you reach them or they reach you, the price you put out there, and then the process you follow to evaluate and kind of gather information on your candidates. So if you want to talk more about how this plays out in your funnel, or need help building a program that attracts the right customers, not just any customers, hit me up. I'm at carlos@newmarketgrowth.com. I hope you found this analogy to recruiting helpful. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. If you want to support the show, the number one thing you can do is go to thefreetoaster.com and sign up for our newsletter. You're going to get a couple pieces per week of news, information, insights, and podcasts like the one you're listening to right now at the intersection of marketing, lending, and technology. That's our niche. We don't plan to go outside of that. It's the only publication I've seen out there on the internet that dials into this zone. So if you want to support us, sign up and share it in your favorite Slack channel.